What's going on, guys? My name is Professor Nigel. Today I've got some more Dirty Bomb class setups for you guys. So if you haven't already seen the first part, I've got kind of an all-around class setup video for Fireteam Dirty Bomb. So again, if you haven't already seen that, you need just some general basic ideas for some class setups. Go check that out first. This video is going to be kind of centered a lot more around some of the AR builds that I love for Dirty Bomb. And of course, you can use these for the Fireteam Mosh Pit as well, or any of the game modes that are kind of in the Fireteam Mosh Pit. I personally like these class setups best for Fireteam Dirty Bomb, and that's mainly just because, especially for Fireteam Elimination and Fireteam Hardpoint, you need a lot more ammo, so you might want to look at maybe some of different class setups. And of course, if you're here looking for SMG ideas, I will be releasing a third part shortly after this part goes out. So if you don't see it, it's in the works. I've got some SMG builds that I really love for Fireteam Dirty Bomb. And of course, the first video had kind of a little bit of everything, so you can go and check that out as well. Let's get into some of the class setups that I've got going on right now. For this first one, I've got the C58, and I'm using the axle arms 3 times, sight, the infantry compensator, the 18.7-inch reinforced heavy barrel, the steady aim laser, the foregrip, the 60-round drum mag, the speed tape, and the marathon stock. So if you want to knock this down to 5 attachments, as you can see I'm using all 8 attachments. Obviously I'm using the Gunfighter Wild perk, so if you want to change this to the perk read and you want to have 6 perks, which of course, as I kind of covered in the first part of this class setup series, is super useful, especially if you want to be using Tactical Mask or Engineer to kind of deal with a lot of the equipment and stuff that is so prevalent in Dirty Bomb. You can definitely go ahead and do that. The attachments that I'd probably remove would probably be the muzzle, the steady aim laser, and the stock. I think they're the least necessary, but I personally like having all the attachments on the C58. It's a really good all-around balance of damage, recoil control, as well as kind of the max amount of ammo that you're going to need in a very hectic and crowded game mode like Dirty Bomb, especially if you're dropping on bombs and you're really going for the win. You really don't need that much ammo if you're dropping on bombs and kind of just collecting uranium. Unless, of course, you're really just trying to rank up guns, then I'd recommend different class setups. These are really meant for truly going for the objective in Dirty Bomb, and that's kind of why I'm going with the 60-round drum mag. The amount of times I was using the 35-round drum mag and I'd run into a whole entire 4-man squad and then kind of be stuck with the reloading, and it was a mess. I personally prefer the 60-round drum mag. I understand that kind of the decreased aim down sight speed and damage might be a little bit frustrating at times. I guess if you really want, you can go ahead and you can try the jungle style mag or the 35-round drum mag. I, again, personally really prefer the 60-round drum mag. When you're engaging multiple people or you're dropping on a bomb with this setup, you really want the full 60 rounds. If you want to kind of change this into more of an AR that you want to be able to rush into buildings with, you can, of course, go ahead and remove the sight altogether, or you can add the Microflex LED. That's kind of the setup that I use for regular multiplayer. I kind of don't really change anything else other than the sight for regular multiplayer. So if you want to change that, go for it. I've just kind of got this built for kind of a mid to longer range AR build for Dirty Bomb, especially for some of the more open maps, such as Alpine, for example, where you're going to be engaging people who are 50, 100 yards, maybe more, maybe less. But obviously for Sanatorium, you might want one of the other AR builds that I've got coming up, or an SMG loadout, because you're going to be kind of up close and personal. You're going to be running into buildings, Sanatorium, all of the bomb sites, or pretty much most of the bomb sites are within buildings, so it's definitely a little bit of a vibe. It really depends on the map you're playing on, but this, for the open maps, I really, really like. So, of course, I've used this class setup in a couple of videos. I think most recently, the most recent Alpine win, I used this setup. The secondary I was using was a shotgun. I was using the Gallo. I really personally prefer the nail gun at this point. I think the nail gun is kind of the best of both worlds, where you kind of have your mid to long range, and then you want to run into buildings, take out some people up close and personal. The nail gun rips through armor, and it's perfect up close and personal. I think it's a great secondary. You don't have to use a wild card to get a different secondary like you would if you wanted to run an AR and an SMG. Of course, you can do that if you want. Go ahead. The option is open to you if you want to go and instead cut this down to the 5 attachments and try and get a second gun on here like an SMG or something like that. I think that is a pretty solid option. I personally like using Gunfighter, or if not using Gunfighter, I personally like using Perk Greed. I think the more perks, the more helpful, especially running around the objective. The first perk slot is super, super helpful, having both Flak Jacket and Tactical Mask, or Flak Jacket and Engineer. And in terms of equipment, nothing new here from the first part that I really kind of covered. Stim Shot, Semtex, Gas Mine, all pretty standard for Dirty Bomb. So let's get into the second kind of more up close and personal AR setup. The second setup that I've got is the XM4, and this setup is a combination of damage as well as speed. Obviously, I've got the 50-round drum mag on here. I've got the airborne elastic wrap to help with ADS, as well as flinch resistance, and you can also drop shot as well. And then I've got the bruiser grip, again, to kind of improve your mobility. I've got the barrel to improve your damage, effective damage range, and the bullet velocity. And I've got the agency suppressor. I personally like this. It's a very close range, maybe to mid-range AR build for the XM4. And again, this setup is pretty consistent with what you would see in Warzone anyway, so not too much is different here. You don't necessarily have to use the agency suppressor. I personally like using this because it gives a little bit of some recoil control, as well as kind of keeps you off the radar. So if you're running around an objective, you're running through a house, and you don't want to be making too much noise, I personally like using the agency suppressor. If you're going into a house with a lot of different people, maybe it's the final objective and you want the up close and personal AR to kind of run into that building with, you can definitely go for the muzzle brake, a compensator to really just kind of control more of the recoil, and you don't have to worry about sacrificing damage range or bullet velocity. Again, I don't really find that adding the agency suppressor, even though it says it does, I don't really feel too much of a drop off. Again, maybe because I'm using this setup more as an up close and personal mid range. So definitely, if you want to kind of transform an XM4 class into a longer range or mid to long range kind of setup, you can definitely remove the muzzle, throw on the 3 times, and maybe remove the handle. Since really the handle really is built for speed. But again, this is more of an up close and personal build if you want to use an AR, going for the last objective, or you're up close and personal kind of on Sanatorium. I think this is a really solid setup. And again, you can really use this at the mid-range, even though you don't have the sight and you have the agency suppressor, which says it decreases kind of the damage range and all that stuff. I personally love this setup. I really think it works really, really well. And I really don't have any trouble using it kind of at the mid-range, even the 50, 75-yard mark, really. As a secondary, again, if you want to change it up, you want to run an SMG, go for it. For this setup, I personally love the machete. You get through 50 rounds on your mag, and you're up close and personal on the bomb, you switch right to your machete and you just start hacking the shit out of people. I think that this is really, last bomb. If you want an AR, this is the setup that you're going with. And then you just kind of whip out the machete and you're tagging people. I personally really love the knife as the secondary. I highlighted it a little bit in the first part of this class setup series, and after that kind of really used it a lot more because I saw a lot more people using it, and I really think it's the best secondary that you can have in Dirty Bomb. Being able to just run through an objective and one-hit people with the machete is the absolute best, or any of the other melee weapons. The baseball bat is another popular one that I know a lot of people are using. Of course, I don't really have too many of them unlocked. I really just have the machete and the knife. But I've enjoyed the machete. So you know, if you've got the baseball bat or the samurai sword or whatever it's called, those I think might be a little bit better in speed, but the machete has pretty decent range, which kind of sounds silly saying that on a knife, but I guess it's just your ability to kind of lunge forward and lock onto people. But I really like the machete. Again, in terms of perks, these are the perks that I'm running, but again, I kind of cover that a lot more in the first part, and also, you know, it's really, once you get your first couple perks, these are really the best that you can go with, especially for the first and second. I mean, Engineer Flak Jacket, or Tactical Mask and Flak Jacket are really the best. Or for your third perk, this is really where it kind of becomes a little bit confusing. You know, you can really go with any pairing on the third one. It really depends on what you're trying to do. For the XM4, of course I've got it set up like this, especially with Gung Ho, being able to kind of switch from your XM4 to the machete really quickly is nice, but I can totally see why using Ninja or Ghost and Cold-Blooded or Cold-Blooded and Ninja is acceptable and also useful. Again, nothing really changed up with the equipment, so let's get into the final third class setup that I've got in the ARs. The last setup that I've got is with the Krig, and this is kind of a play off the utilitarian blueprint, so it's not really too much change from the blueprint in terms of what it actually gives to you. These are the 5 attachments, as you can see. These two, and then this one is the setup. I'm using all 8 attachments though, so I'm also adding on the barrel, the steady aim laser, and the speed tape. I think this is a better all-around Krig that is really good, medium to long range, and is also pretty awesome, even up close and personal, believe it or not. Even with this sight on it, the Krig is pretty much unstoppable. It's super low recoil in the first place, so definitely having this underbarrel kind of prioritizing speed. And then also, again, just the 40-round mag works well. The 50-round, if you want to. I think this is a really good all-around AR, which is kind of why I'm sticking with the 40-round mag instead of the 50-round, just kind of save on the aim-down sight speed. Because, again, I think you can really actually use this up close and personal, even with the 3x sight. Again, with this one, I'm using the machete as my secondary. If you want to kind of change that up, if you want to run an SMG or something like that, by all means, go for it. Again, I think because this is so good all around, you don't really need anything else. And then the machete, just kind of for up close and personal when you're running through buildings, is what I love. This one, I'm using the proximity mine, gas mine are pretty much the only two. If you want, for some of the other game modes, for some of the other Fireteam Mosh Pit game modes, you can throw on an assault pack for any of these AR class setups, and that'll kind of make it a little bit better for elimination as well as hardpoint, where you kind of need more ammo because you're staying on the objectives longer, and you may just be engaging more people instead of, you know, trying to collect uranium and filling up bombs and armoring it and stuff like that. In terms of perks, this one I'm going with Engineer, Assassin, and Gung Ho. I personally like this combination for this class setup. Again, you can really kind of sort it out any way you want for however your play style goes. And then, of course, wildcard. Just because I'm using the 8 attachments, I'm going with Gunfighter. So this is the setups for the 3 best AR class setups for Fireteam Dirty Bomb, the ones that I like the most. If you have an AR setup that you really like, let me know. Maybe I'll include it in a later class setup video. In the meantime, guys, if you haven't seen the first part, go check that out. Soon enough, I will have the SMG section and the third part of the series out for you guys as well, so stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you found any of this helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. It'd be a huge, huge help for me. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you guys so much for this, the support on the first edition, the first part of this class setup video. Really awesome to see that many views as well as the likes on that video. So again, thank you guys so much. Check out the rest of my Dirty Bomb content as well as Call of Duty content. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.